Hi everybody. So I have an announcement. I did my first 3-tier wedding cake for my friends back in Kansas City. I was so excited to do their wedding. I'm so thankful that they gave me the opportunity. So congratulations, Jeff and Alexis, and thank you again for allowing me to do you guys' wedding. So this was my first 3-tier wedding cake. In this video, I will say some things that I wish I would have done differently and some things that I'm pretty proud of doing. So the cake that they got was a sour cream white almond cake, and I'm trying to think if I've done a video on this one before. I don't believe I have, so I will put the recipe in the comment section below. I did a 3-tier, so each tier was 3 layers. I did a 6-inch, an 8-inch, and a 10-inch. And I also did 100 cupcakes. I didn't use a different recipe for the cupcakes. At first I did, and this was one of the mistakes I made. So later on in the video, I believe I showed this too, or maybe I don't. At first I used the cupcake recipe, but the cupcake recipe called for water. So I was like, maybe I can just substitute the water for butter, which delayed my cupcake process because they all ended up sinking. So when they say don't mess with the recipe unless you know, don't mess with the recipe. So I think I made about 50 or 60 cupcakes, and they all sunk, and I thought I was gonna troubleshoot it. The troubleshooting didn't happen, so that was fun. But I ended up just using the same recipe that I used for the cakes for the cupcakes, and none of them sunk. They all actually came out beautifully. And the buttercream that I'm using, because the wedding was outside and the reception was outside, I used a high ratio shortening. I can also put that in the description box below. When I was advised, since it's going to be outside and I thought it was also going to be hot, that, you want to use high ratio shortening to hold up, the cake, and to also help with the melting process for the cake. So I can say it did do good. It actually wasn't that hot. I attended the wedding. Excuse me. So I attended the wedding, and it wasn't that hot. It was actually beautiful. The wind was blowing, and it was a beautiful service and a beautiful reception. Like, I'm so happy for them, and I pray God brings them many blessings. So this is the 6-inch cake that I am doing right now, and the layers came out beautifully. I believe I made them the night before, and I refrigerated them. Oh, there's my mom. My mom was so helpful with Zadie and helping me get the cake together, and just her opinions. I love my mother, and I'm so grateful for her. So I believe I made them the night before, and I chilled them, and then I started assembling them the next day. So one thing I wish I would have done was smooth out my buttercream a little bit better. It was a semi-naked cake, and there was also flowers on the cake, which you guys will see at the end of the video. But I just wish, I was so nervous, and I wish I would have smoothed out the buttercream. In the beginning, it was smooth, but I kept making mistakes, so I kept going over it. So that's what led to it not being the aesthetics that I wanted it to be. So that is one thing I think in the future I would do better with, is smoothing out the buttercream and making it appealing to the eye. Like I said, I'm so grateful that they gave me the opportunity to do my first wedding cake so I could see the mistakes that I made and how to troubleshoot them. And another thing that I would do, so like as you can see, you can kind of see the cake board. I think, with semi-naked cakes, it's a little bit different because you're not putting on 2 coats when you normally decorate a cake, you put on 2 coats of buttercream, the crumb coat and then the actual coat of buttercream. But with the semi-naked cake, it's really just the crumb coat. So when you're doing the 2 coats, normally the buttercream, you don't even see the cake board. So I think if I were to do another semi-naked cake, I would get a smaller cake board. So this is a 6-inch cake. I believe I would use a 5-inch, just so when I stack them on top of each other, you're not able to see the cake board underneath it. So I think I would trim it a little bit, or just get a 5-inch, probably trim it, because I'm not sure if they make 5-inch cake boards, maybe they do, but I would just use a smaller cake board, so when I am stacking, you are unable to see the cake board underneath it. Now you do need a cake board for stability with stacking. Since the 6-inch was the top tier, I did not have to put any dowels in that one, and I used wooden dowels. I used the little sticks, and then I put a central dowel down the entire cake. I really didn't get to record myself doing that part, and I apologize. Hopefully I'll be able to do another tiered cake, but I do show you guys the pictures of the final look, and the cake layers look so good. Another thing I recommend is baking your cake maybe even 25 degrees less than what the recipe asks for, because it bakes slower, but to me it just kept the color not as dark as it normally does, which I absolutely loved. The cakes were so moist, and I could just tell, and the color just made it so much better, and I know the taste was just amazing. I did try this recipe before I made the cake, and it was really good. I absolutely loved it. Another thing I would do is I just need more I need to more practice, because as you can see right there, it's a little bit higher, so I try and push it down. If I would have had just leveling my cakes, because I believe my 8-inch cake was it wasn't straight, if that makes sense, which made my cake look like it was leaning, but it was only the 8-inch that was leaning. So that was another thing that I need to get better at, is leveling my cakes, just to make sure that the stability is there. And my cake did not fall at all. The 6-inch, the entire structure did not fall at all. I dialed it up pretty good, and it did not fall. It just, my 8-inch cake, since it was leaning up there on the top, it made the 6-inch kind of look like it was leaning as well. So I would do that. That's another thing I should get better at, is leveling them. And like I said with this one also, you can kind of see the cake board here a little bit too. I would just cut it just a little bit smaller, and maybe, I don't know if I just need to put more buttercream down at the bottom, but I would get a smaller cake board, just so when I stack them, because it kind of frustrated me when I stacked it, because I'm like, you can see the cake board, and of course, I put buttercream over the cake board. It just didn't look that good to me. And this is my 10-inch. Those are 3 layers. I also think maybe I needed to add more batter to make them as thick as my other layers. And the board, I was going to use a cake board, but I actually ended up seeing these wooden boards at Michael's. They were in the wooden section, and I used this as my support system, I guess you could say. It's basically not my cake board, I'm sorry. Instead of a cake drum, I used this wooden one, and I got that from Michael's. I can also put that in the description box below. It was a 12-inch wooden board. So their theme was more of a rustic theme, so I thought this would be perfect, and it also went on top of another wooden slab, so it kind of went with the theme. So this is me, getting ready to dowel it up. I stick the dowel in the cake, and then I pull it out. I want it like a little bit shorter. And another thing I wish I would have done is, you see my 8-inch cake board, you kind of want your dowels to be in the center of the 8-inch cake board. So if I put the cake board on top of my 10-inch cake, it'll make a circle, and within that circle is where you want to put your dowels. So here is me cutting my dowels to the appropriate length, and you kind of want to make them a little bit smaller than the height, just so when you put buttercream over them, they're not sticking out and one's not taller than the other or anything like that. So you just want to make sure they're all the same length. And you can even, when you place them in your cake, you can just, push them down, and you want to make sure when you push them down that they're straight. If they are, diagonal or any other way, it's not going to hold up the cake. So you just want to make sure that it's straight when it goes in the cake. This is actually this is the night before, I believe. Or maybe the day of. I think it might be the day of. This morning was crazy, and it was kind of raining too. So it was, this is where all my mistakes made. I wish I would have, another thing I wish I would have done is dialed the cake up the night before, so then I could have had more time to troubleshoot what else needed to be done. And I think I put 4 dowels in there, and I ended up putting 6. So like I said, you can kind of see I did smooth it a little bit, and this is me trying to like get those sharp edges, which as you can see didn't work. So that's my other thing that I need to work on, is just my edges, making my edges sharp, and being able to really get that nice level feel. Like, I know normally people put it on top and like see how level it is, and maybe I should have used this side, which would have looked really nice. And that one's even a 6-inch cake board, so maybe I should have used that. I was just so nervous, and this was my first tiered cake that actually I made another tiered cake, a 2-tiered cake for a baby shower, but that one, that was really my first tiered cake. But it just, that one also did not fall either, but it just wasn't, that one I think was leaning too, now that I think about it. So I just need to work on, making sure, maybe I should have cut my layers to make sure that they were all even, which could have helped me, but I wish I would have done it the night before, so that morning I wouldn't have been trying to hurry up and stack them and everything like that. And my daughter was running around. I don't know if you can see her. I might have cut it out, but yes. So now this is me sticking them in the 8-inch layer, and I also did a gold drip, and that's another thing I wish I would have done a little differently. My mom actually helped me get the right consistency, but I bought some luster dust off Bakeley, which I highly recommend. The color was beautiful, but I messed it up, and I only got a 4-gram amount of the luster dust, which kind of, I used it, messed it up, so I didn't have any more. So I should have gotten more, and then I think what I should have done is added the luster dust to white chocolate. I saw all these videos where they were like you see right here, that's the 4-gram amount that I got, when I should have gotten more. And I add powdered sugar and lemon extract, and that actually is pretty disgusting and very strong because of the lemon extract. But I wish I would have I wish I would have just added it to white chocolate. I think the consistency would have been a lot better, and I would have gotten the drip that I really wanted, and it wouldn't have looked so clumpy. My mom did a really good job of helping me get to the consistency that I did have, to where it was a pretty good consistency. But I think if I would have added it to white chocolate, it would have looked even better. So that's another thing. This, I don't remember where I got this from, and it was really good right here, but then I let it sit because I was letting the layers, my tiers, chill in the fridge, because when you do a drip, you want to be doing it on a chilled cake, so you know the drips go down but they stop because it's on a chilled cake. So this is me kind of stacking, but I think this is the only one that I showed you guys that I got to stack, and I think I ended up taking it off because I didn't have a cake board underneath it. And then I tried to smooth, I was so excited, and then the excitement went away. But I'm so blessed to have had this privilege to actually be able to do it, and to actually be able to have, my parents were such a huge help. My dad helped me get all the stuff. He let me use his truck, which was even better. And see, this is when I let it sit, so it was a little clumpy. It wasn't really the consistency that I wanted. But this right here, it doesn't look too crooked or too slanted, but I could see that I was a little slanted. And again, I thank Jeff and Alexis for the opportunity, allowing me to be able to do this cake. But there's the 100 cupcakes, and here is the tiered cake at my parents' house, and this is what it looked like in the venue. So I thank you guys for listening to me, and I'll see you on the next video.